Well, here she is, guys. Here is the fabled EJ8. I'll insert a screenshot of my first Civic, and it was actually an EJ8 as well. So, what we need to do is get this guy yonder, because, for obvious reasons, she's boneless. So this is a Civic that we pulled the B20V from, and I took a couple parts from it to make my Integra swap work. But now I just want a daily and to clean this up. So here we go. Feels weird not having an Advan sticker there like every black EK. I don't know why guys do that. But anyways, let's get cracking on it. Oh, and for the record, I know the paint. The paint. But for the record, this is actually authentic barn find dust. So this did just add value to, you know, the whip 1,000,000%. Good side hustle, live on a gravel road and have a barn, and you can make the value of any of your vehicles skyrocket. See, it even comes with free pine needles. Hey guys, I just got back from my trip and the grind doesn't stop. I picked this up while I was on vacation, and this is a new oil cap for the valve cover. It's the little things, you know? Even comes with a brand new gasket on it. Here's our valve cover, fellas. I'd paint it right now, but I just don't have any paint for it, and I don't really care enough. I think our main objective right now is just to get all this sandblast resin out of there, because I'll really just saw up the insides of that. I'll probably hit that with an air compressor. But again, OEM oil cap. It's the little things in life, you know. Here's that full gasket kit, and then here's something a little goofy. Another weird thing that engine didn't come with. A dipstick. And of course, new gaskets. eBay special. Man, I wonder what's in here. Yeah, this gasket kit cost me 49 bucks, and it was pretty much 99% of the gaskets I need, and I'm not even going to use all of them. Not going to do the head gasket on this engine, but I would like to replace maybe the rear main seal and a couple of the other ones, but I think the head gasket's fine, and they're not that hard to do in the car. Oop, there's another one. There we are. Even comes with some silicone, which is awesome. We'll actually keep this box to put all the gaskets back in. Even comes with some new valve guides or valve seals, blah blah blah. But yeah, I actually have a couple Honda rear main seals sitting around. I might opt to use those. Spark plug seals, because again, this thing is completely boneless. We ain't got nothing. So oil pan gasket, I'll probably do that. I was avoiding putting that engine on a stand, but I might just have to. Oh well. I decided to mature a little bit. I'm gonna put it on an engine stand and check the bottom end and just feel it out. Oh, big red flag right there. Big red flag. You know, we don't rep Fram. We only rep Wicks. So I got the clutch and flywheel off, and she does look pretty eaten up. Like, the brass is actually starting to get down to the actual clutch material itself. And also, when you look at the pressure plate here, she also has some pretty high scorchage going on. I've actually never had a bad clutch, so I hit up my buddy Russ. I was like, hey, does this look bad to you? And he's like, eh. So, hey Russ, I know you're watching this. Flywheel could use a resurface too. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but point being, we don't have to worry about that. I could rip apart that D15 down there and see if that clutch is good, but I'm not that worried about it. But anyways, I got this on the engine stand. I'm about to drop the oil on this because, well, let's just see if there's coolant in it, you know, start making milkshakes. Looks like it's got some junkyard parts on here. You can tell because of the way it's been marked, or not sure what's going on, but disregard that. And I think I am going to actually clean this block down. I might as well do it right. It's something I want to be a little proud of. Oh, look at that. Classic. I've been cutting on that. But when you look on the back here, the head gasket really doesn't look like it's been leaking that much. Maybe a little seepage, but maybe I'll just do the whole 9 yards here and actually do this. After all, this is how to swap your D16Z6 video, but this video might change dramatically here if I take apart this bottom end and it's nothing but glitter and pixie dust. So let's get this oil pan off after we drop the oil, of course. See if we got any loose rods. After all, this is a high mileage engine, but you know how these D series go. Grab that oil. This ain't a Toyota. looks like I worked there. Oh wait, I did. Answer hub. Let's see what we get out of this. Place your bets in the comments below. I'm just trying to drive up the algorithm. Please comment. So far it's just oil. So far. Well, water is heavier than oil. So instead of blowing head gasket with blowing coolant, definitely would have had water coming out first. The more I look at D-Series on Facebook Marketplace, the more I realize I'm picking up two here for basically the price of one was a steal. And one of these is a D16Z6, and those are kind of hype. Picked it up, pick up both of them for 230 bucks. I feel like that's a pretty good deal. Or sorry, 350 bucks. All the extra goodies. I still might want to rip off the head gasket on this because I kind of want to drive this on the track this year. I know I got my EG, but kind of fun to drive this too. Or if a certain someone that I'm best friends with decides to not get his track car running, maybe he could drive this on the track. See a speed shot, but anyways, looking good. That's awesome. There we go. Alright, drop the comments below. You think she's blown up? If she's blown up, if I ever meet one of you guys in person, I'll buy you a Dr. Pepper. No cap. Alright, come on, sweetheart. Okay. That's what the oil pan looks like. The bottom end looks oily and crusty. Like it had conventional oil in its whole life, but I don't see anything. I don't hear any rattling. No junk in the pickup. These are good things. These are good things. What the? Are you guys seeing this? There's a dipstick here. Okay. I'm seeing some little metal chunks in the pickup, and I'm not that worried about it. Let's see if we can see anything significant. The story on this block was the car got routed out, and it was just this high mileage block that was left over. Well guys, I just gave her the full spin around, and these rods, there is no play in them whatsoever. Like I said, we saw some of those metal chunks, which is kind of sus, but we'll just say she's breaking in. Turns over fine. Cylinders were kind of dry looking, so I don't want to do this too much. There is some resistance there though. Not a lot. It's a D-Series, but it feels consistent, which is good. That means we got compression. I will leave the intake manifold on it though, because doing those paper gaskets is an absolute pain. But get this turned over here. We'll start busting all this stuff off, the timing cover off. Then we'll get the timing belt off. I'm actually going to run this belt. This belt looks fine, so I'm going to reuse the belt. Water pump, probably going to reuse it. I'm not that worried about it. I don't have one, but I've never had a bad one, so I'm not that worried about it. Yeah, we'll get this alternator bracket off and all this other junk. Maybe leave the charcoal canister on there. But just so we can get this a good thorough clean. Like I said, I'd like to run this on the track, so if I have an oil leak, I'd like to know where it's coming from versus just looking at it. And the funny thing about this is I actually, want to retain OEM mounts. I don't want to run any stiff mounts because this is going to be more of a street car, something which I've never built. So I don't want my dash rattling like crazy because we're not going to be running a lot of power through this. So yeah. Hey guys, I just had an epiphany. I'm actually not going to remove the cylinder head on this because I have a few clues to tell me that it's already been done. First one being that this brace, there's supposed to be a brace back here that braces the intake manifold to the block, is missing. So typically that means the cylinder head was most likely removed unless they removed the intake manifold separately, but I don't see why they would do that. I assume they would want to do it all in one piece. And also right here, this water pump, and I put the tensioner away, but they look brand new, so I'm not that worried about it. Wish you could see the color on it. Maybe OEM. But I'm not that worried about it. And again, like I said, if I have to do it, these are really easy to do on D series in the car. You can leave everything together and just pop it right on out. That's what I miss about these compared to the B series. But yeah, so I was all gung-ho about taking the cylinder head off originally, because I'm like, well, I have all the parts, I might as well. But then I remembered I don't have the bolts, and I'm so used to using studs, I always forget, like, bro, you don't have bolts sitting around and you can't just reuse them. So I mean, you could, but I don't advise on doing that. So yeah, I'm just gonna strip it down pretty much this far, a little bit more on the back, say screw it, and probably leave the intake manifold on there. And yeah, so then I'm just gonna clean the block up and then put her all back together and get her thrown in the car. Well, I ain't gonna make it super shiny, but at least I'll get enough junk off to know whether or not it leaks oil later. Let's get to it. See, if you stand here and squint really hard, it kind of looks like a K-series even. Well, I couldn't get it perfect, but I scrubbed it by hand, and that is a lot better than what it used to be. The back I just kind of half did, just sprayed that, but at least she'll look a little bit more pretty. And I guess while it's still up in the air, I can do the rear main seal. Fun fact, the rear main seal on B series and D series are the same. I don't know about the Ks, but got some OEM seals right here. I'd much rather use an OEM one than an aftermarket one. But yeah, if you look at her closely, this one I think is pretty torn up. But yeah, this thing has had some new, I think this is even a newer oil pump on it. And that seal still looks good on there. I might just leave that one be. And I said new water pump, and it looks like the cylinder head's a different color than the block. So I could say that the cylinder head, this might have got decked and whatnot, but this rear main seal, for all we know, might be original. So I'm gonna tear into that. And that oil pan, that gasket was definitely original, because she was not coming off. Man, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I spent way longer than I should have getting that rear main in. But what I did is I just put the flywheel bolts in, some washers underneath them that held it in place from walking around as I tap it in, and now it's in. So let's get this in the shop and on the stand. Hey guys, it's the next day. I'm gonna do the valve lash here on the Z6 just because it's out and it'll be really convenient. Then after that, I'll probably get to dropping it in. The rest of the mount should arrive today, so I really look forward to that. But yeah, just looking here at the EK, I really look forward. Like, is it bad that I get excited to see how crappy it is? Like, they just painted over everything on this poor car. Everything. But you know what? That means content, which means more YouTube videos. So I'm excited. I enjoy making these videos. But anyways, guys, thinking about the headlights. I really like projectors, but should I go with the OEM flavors? I don't know. Drop in the comments below. Alright, let's get to work. Well, I was like, shoot, I gotta Google, you know, the valve lash, which ain't a big deal. But then I remembered I got an EG hatch. Peep my other Hondas. Yep, I got the lineup. But yeah, so if I go on the other side of this, got the sticker right there. I'll know my valve lash. I can't read that, so I'm gonna have to ask you guys to read that for me. Alright, thank you very much. And of course, if you guys weren't aware, which I assume most of you are, but the EXs and the SIs came with the D16Z6, and that's what we're putting in the EK for, you know, the EG, blah, blah, blah. Did I leave gas in here? Oh, that's older than Christ. Alright. But yeah, in case any of you weren't aware, the older EG SIs and the EXs came with the D16Z6. This came off of an SI, so I know exactly what clearances they are now. I don't know if they're different than the Y8s or whatnot, but it's just nice that we have physical media in the shop. Oh yeah, and you can't leave the plastics out too. Gotta wash these as well. So guys, I have kind of a unique situation, so I don't know if this pertains to you, but this is a how-to video, so I just want to be thorough with y'all. So this car originally had a B20V that's getting put in another car, and it had this mount for a B series. That's not going to work. I tried seeing if the 3-post would line up, and it doesn't. But anyways, so I got this from my buddy CS Speed Shop, and this is just out of his 97 LX. And yeah, so that just bolts right on in there. I'm going to be using the 2-post mount that he also hooked me up with. I have it over here, and we'll be able to drop it in. So if you're putting a Z6 in your car, you will have to get a 2-post mount. If someone in the comments knows more than me and I'm actually wrong, or if there's an alternate way, drop below. It did look like if I actually wallered out the B series mount a little bit, where it was a little bit more ovaled, it looked like it would have fit, but I just want bolt up. So yep, right here just have a standard EK, you know, kind of a goofy looking mount. I'm gonna bolt this in, and then it should let it drop in on the driver's side. So I will have to swap this in for the 2-post mount, which I got right here. Now right here I also have a 2-post off of the D15B7, and actually that might work. That might just actually bolt up. But it is a different style mount. I'm not going to mess with it because, like I said, my buddy already hooked me up with this one. This is just a 2-post mount off of a standard EK like D16Y8, Y7. I'm just going to do the valve lash now, and then get the harness on, and then hopefully I can stop procrastinating and actually get it dropped in the engine bay. So the millimeters are kind of misleading, so I'm going off of thou, but these are about 7 to 9 thou on the intake and 9 to 11 thou on the exhaust. So I'm just starting on cylinder 1 and moving on over. But if you guys want those numbers, again, 7 to 9 thou on the intake side, and then 9 to 11 thou on the exhaust side. And so far she is proven to be tight, so definitely going to need some adjustment here. I'll get back to y'all once I get all these adjusted, and I'll let you know how they turned out. Valve lash set, I did 8 thou on the intake, 10 thou on the exhaust. I wanted to keep them all consistent. And remember, the firing order on these is 1, 3, 4, 2. 1, 3, 4, 2. Yeah, so just as you're going around, make sure you're doing the right cylinder. And remember, this engine didn't have plugs in it the whole time I had it, but I just turned it around a few times here, and it sounds like it's got good compression. So far I think this engine is pretty solid. I mean, look at the glove. Yeah, awesome. Oh, and I thought while we got the engine up here, I might as well just pop this whole fram off. Man, that's on there tight. And put on a Wix. Now, I actually want to show you guys. For some reason, I had a Wix sitting around, so I'm going to run this. But this filter right here and this filter are the same. So this is also has the same internal element as a Wix. And in fact, they both have the same part number, 51334. 51334. However, I bought these on bulk on eBay for 1/3 of the price as what one of these would be. So like using numbers, if this was 10 bucks, this would be like $3.33. And the only difference between these two filters is that this one right here has a lower burst pressure. So this one will burst at like, I think it was like 400 psi, which our oil pressure systems never get to anyways. And this one bursts at 200 psi. And which our oil pressure systems don't get to anyways. So a little fun fact there, you could pick up basically a Wix filter, which in my opinion is the best filters there are, for 1/3 of the cost if you pick up, just buy these on bulk on eBay. I have a whole box just full of them. And the nice thing is these D and B series, they all run the same oil filter. I think the K's even run the same. But yeah, so just trying to save you guys some money. There's a little tech tip for you there. Okay guys, here I am probably a couple months later working on this again. I had to take a break because well, just accruing parts and whatnot, and I got an eBay harness. I chose to go the eBay route because, well, you know, I'm broke. I wanted to show you a modification I had to do here. But anyways, so I did order the first harness and I accidentally burned it. Long story short, it got burned. But anyways, so here's the second harness. And the only issue I've had so far, this is just an eBay OBD1 tucked harness. It will, and the nice thing about it is, you know, you don't have the double harness that a lot of OBD1 engines had. This being an EK, it had a single harness. This is an EG, you know, OBD1. I'm not going to get into it, but point being is the harnesses are different, but this is kind of the best of both worlds, or at least that's what I think I'm going to be getting here. So these injector pigtails were not, these are an OBD1 style, obviously. They got the metal clip. They were not plugging into the injector. And the reason why is on the bottom left here, let me show you one that I didn't chew away. The bottom left here, you see that? See those two little divots on the bottom left and right? Point being is you see those bottom squares? Look at that. Now here's the one I modified to make fit. So you see those corners? I had to chew them out. Because on the injectors here, it wouldn't clear. Because if you look in there, see on the bottom left and bottom right, there's two little square drives. Yeah, those, we're not letting it plug in. So I just had to drill those out on those, and now it lets it plug right on in. So that's one modification you'll have to do if you're running an eBay harness. Otherwise, I haven't had any issues so far, but I'll keep you guys updated. So right now, I'm going to be throwing the harness and everything on the engine, and that, get it actually dropped into the car. Oh, and in case anyone's wondering how I actually did those corners, I just kind of went in there with the drill and wallered it on out with this. Another thing I found out about this eBay harness is it is lacking the charging wire. So all I'm going to do here is I have a parts harness sitting around. This is an OBD1 parts harness. Just going to rip out this wire. I don't think it really matters if it's OBD1 or OBD2. And all the way down yonder right there. So I got to dig through the whole harness, but that's okay. Obviously, that's what you get when you buy a $50 wiring harness, but it is what it is. Hey guys, so I'm back, and I realized in this video I kind of did a horrible job explaining a few things, but in the next video I'm really going to get more in depth on how the actual wiring and whatnot works. This OBD1 harness, I'm kind of going in a more unconventional route with it, but I liked going with this harness because I didn't really have to adapt much. It was all just OBD1 plugs, all bolted right up to the engine. Plugged right into the engine, and I'm just using a chip P28 harness, so it all just plugs right into the harness. But I did have to do some custom wiring when it came to the fuel pump and whatnot. So in the next video here, I'm actually going to get into it more in depth and everything you need from mounts to actual electric plugins and whatnot to get this swap to work. And I am still working on it, so I don't want to put the full video out there yet until it's done. But just stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna hopefully get the car running tomorrow. Today is June 11th, and hopefully it'll be running tomorrow on June 12th. But I appreciate you guys watching the video and putting up with my terrible editing here. I want to have this car running and driving so I can actually take it on a trip down south in just a couple weeks here. So talk about trial by fire. But anyways, thank you for watching the video. If this video helped you guys in any way, shape, or form, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys have a good one. Thank you very much for watching.